to literally judge them by their fruits, right? So what that means is their actions, their behavior, right? So you don't just ask someone if they're a Christian, right? Because a lot of people will just want to blend in. You judge them by their behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yes,
They're behaving. They're
It's
behaving fine.
it's a really bad argument saying that, oh, you ask them and you test them, because the devil knows all the scriptures and actually recited to Jesus the scriptures. So knowing scriptures is not saying that it's gonna make you a Christian.
So knowing is half the battle.
It could be a start to it.
Knowing is
Hold on,
half
real
the battle.
quick, Gio,
So
I'm
like when
trying
you
to
ask
go
a police
somewhere with this.
officer, show me your badge, tell me the law, they might know it, but they could still be a bad actor. So you're right. Knowing is half the battle. You're gonna have to look at the actions. But go ahead.
All I was going
how
to
do you
say is,
know?
but it could be let me just say briefly, it could be a start to an interview process, though, asking them, because you see how they respond. Are they genuine or not? So I was just going to say that. It could be useful. But go ahead, Jeremy. And I got something.
Elbow, how do you know?
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to get to a point here at some point. Elbow, how do you know if someone's Christian? What does it mean to be Christian?
Like I said, it's there's a bunch of ideas. The Bible tells you, just treat everybody the same. Love your brother no matter what. There's no way to actually distinguish, because many people just like say women would wear a dress, pastors would be all suited up, but yet in the background they'll be doing things that are not Christian like. You can't really tell.
Elbow, we couldn't hear you, but just so you know, your mic is like real muffled. It sounds like you're underwater, just to let you know. But we could hear, we made out the words. And yeah, like that's what Larry is saying, by their fruits. So Jeremy, can I say my thing? It's only gonna be like 25 seconds.
Yeah, of course. And I'll give us a definition of Christian afterwards. Go ahead, Gio.
Jeremy, did you want to go, or can I say this thing I was gonna say? Because it goes along with that. All right, I was just gonna say this. So
I'm trying to figure out what fruits.
Dude, they mentioned in the Bible. It's probably going over your head because you haven't read it. No, I'm not trying to disrespect you, Jeremy, but like the fruits listed in the Bible are love, joy, patience, kindness, gentleness, forgiveness, etc. So those are the so-called fruits of the spirits, and that's how you know if someone's a Christian, supposedly.
Okay, so if you do all that, you're a Christian then, right? What if you've killed someone?
Yes, there are many Christians that have killed people.
And that would not be long suffering.
I'll give you a definition of a Christian, and it's biblical. A Christian is someone who has repented of sin and placed their faith in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. They are forgiven and justified by grace, and they follow Him through obedience.
All right, let's try to let Gio say his thing now.
I agree with that.
Well, that brings in a slightly different layer, though, because you're bringing in now an obedient, subservient type of relationship. Because the fruits, like, I was just looking this up on Galatians 5:22-23. The 9 fruits: love, joy, peace, patience, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But if you're bringing in like a subservient thing and then having to, like that this guy like had to die for your sins, is that what you're saying?
I was saying obedient.
As a true Christian?
I was saying obedient.
Not
like subservient, but
someone like Gio has fruits of the spirit more than most Christians I come across, and I would say he would confess being a Christian.
Regardless of the fruits, though, fruits is just as you grow as a Christian, right? But now, being a Christian, in other words, if you die right after you accepted Christ, you're still a Christian, and you'll go to heaven. Matter of fact, Christian isn't the thing. Christian is just a name given to making like a religion. Is a follower of Christ.
Yeah, I heard it. I think I heard you, but your mic is really muffled. But
so bad.
yeah, but it's all right. If it's all you got, we can make it out. It's all good.
Yeah.
If it's all you have right now, whatever setup you're on. But well, I mean, okay, the idea of being a Christian, of doing the fruits, like the love, joy, peace, that's just one thing. Like if I was going to do all those things and then that's just it. Someone was going. Not me, but just somebody. I'm saying if somebody was like, hey, I'm going to do those things and call myself a Christian. If they just did those things, is that enough? Because then what Eden just said is another component.
The last part where following Him in obedience,
believing in the resurrection and that Jesus died for your sins, isn't that like different than just how you're conducting yourself? And then you said, obedience.
Hold on, you're talking past each other. Hold on, you're talking past. Okay.
I'll just give the definition. A Christian is someone, I didn't mention the dying on the cross at all. It says a Christian is someone who repented of sin and placed their faith in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. They are forgiven and justified by grace, and they follow him through in obedience. So when you when you believe something to be true, you will be okay. Yeah, thank you. You just obey.
You're right. I didn't mean to I didn't mean to maybe semi-straw man you by saying that died for your sins, but it is sort of related to what you were saying. But because what is the Lord and Savior part? What does that mean exactly?
From judgment, because even in ancient Egypt, they taught about a final judgment. There was like a scale of truth, I think, and there was a feather on one side, and their actions would be on the other side. And if their actions were lighter than the feather, or they were good, they would have a good afterlife, I think. So even the ancient, but in the Jews, they've also thought in judgment. So they would be like,
jump in on that point.
Of course.
I was going to ask about. Basically that.
You'll be let through easier if you get this guy to be your lawyer, kind of thing.
Well, okay. So for him, it's because of the payment. So okay, think of it as like a three-part, process. Okay, so
sorry, Anthony. Just go after him. Sorry, I know.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
I'll be really quick. Okay, imagine you have two twins. They committed the same crimes. However, they were ignorant of the law. So they were caught. The judge, police, informed them of the law. They're arrested, and they're going to see the judge. The judge warns them there's going to be a future court date. Until then, they have three things they must do. Stop sinning. They have to stop doing whatever, robbing, stealing, killing, raping, robbing. Sorry.
This is all
doing those things. My apologies.
Stop doing the wrong thing. Yeah.
Yes, that's step one. Stop, and want to stop. 2, they have to accept the payment for their sins, and there's a payment already provided from them, and that's essentially accepting Jesus Christ dying on the cross, who died instead of them dying. Instead of everyone dying, there was one. And the irony is, when they killed Jesus, they were said it's better to kill one man than all of us die, because of the Romans. They're gonna see this one man rising up, and they're gonna kill us all. So they thought better that one man died. But the irony is, God thought the same thing. I guess that one man died rather than all of us dying for our sins. So, but we have to. That's part 2. We accept the payment. Jesus is that they're going to pay for our sins. And then number 3, we basically go off and tell other people to stop sinning as well.
That's not what the Bible says, though.
I'll just sum it up like this, and then you guys can decide who you forgive. So imagine you've released these 2 people into general population. One follows the judge's instructions, and the other twin says, you know what, forget that. I'm going to continue sinning, and I'm not going to tell anybody. When they come back for judgment, you're the judge. One man followed your instructions to stop sinning, to accept the payment that was already available to him, and tell other people to stop sinning as well, versus the other guy. Who would you show more mercy to? Me? It would be the guy who stopped sinning. And thank you.
Okay. Well, that implies that like God is like a judge, though, right?
Yes. I could be wrong, but yes, I think he is the judge because he's the righteous judge. We can't rely on men to judge. We see what happens in court. Men corrupt judges.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's the idea that the ultimate God is a judge in the first place, though, and that there is this judgment event in that way.
Yeah.
It implies that there's that the creator of everything is actually judging us even in the first place. But I think a lot of people want to get in. I even had my thing from before, and then I have something else too now. But go ahead, Asko, if you want to get in.
No, anchovies though. I do want to get in, but anchovies.
Oh, thank you. Totally. I just wanted to tie it back to Jeremy's question, because the way I have always understood it is somebody could softly tell somebody they're not aligning with Christianity, but you were never supposed to tell someone they're not a true Christian, because at that point you're judging their heart, which is left only to God.
Can I get back to what Jeremy, his question was, how do you know if someone's a Christian? And then the question got changed to, what is a Christian, right? So you know that someone's a Christian because they have selflessness. So the Messiah said, if you can't go and sell everything that you own to follow me, you can't follow me. So a Christian is supposed to be selfless, and that even puts me on the maybe I'm not even a true Christian list because I own things. So a true Christian is supposed to own nothing, go from town to town, preach everybody, hey, you guys, go give everything you own to the poor, and go to the next town and sell everything you got, go give it to the poor and clothe the needy and feed the hungry and visit the people in prisons and take care of the slaves and everybody. That's what true Christianity is supposed to be about, is about not owning anything so that other people don't have to suffer. Thanks.
So no one's a true, there are no true Christians then.
That's one way to look at it.
That's not what the Bible says. It doesn't.
Your way.
So it doesn't say it's easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven? And because the rich man couldn't own everything that he owned, he couldn't follow him. That one commandment he couldn't keep barred him from being followed by Christ.
So I mean, even if you're going, go ahead, Anchovy.
He doesn't instruct everyone to sell everything and follow him. He instructs one rich guy who comes to him and says, "How do I inherit eternal life personally?" And he says, "Sell everything and follow me." Right? So he's making an instruction to that one person. It's not a blanket instruction to all people to not own stuff. That's all I was saying.
So that only goes for him. Everybody else can own things, but not the rich guy. Does that sound fair?
Do you think that
it was that he knew his heart? That's the whole problem.
Go ahead, Oscar.
The thing was that he knew his heart, and his heart was on his possessions. That's why he said it's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of the needle. I mean, for the camel through the eye of the needle, the rich man go to heaven. It's not because you can't be rich. It's because if you love what you own or this worldly possessions, then you won't be able to go to heaven.
All right, I don't know. We don't even know what a Christian is or whatever, so I don't know. I don't
Christian
know how
it's a madman defined thing, bro.
But what does it mean? What does it mean to be a Christian?
Generally means a follower of Christ.
Can I give Jeremy my answer? Because I'm pretty sure
that answer. Like, how's there just not an answer?
Yeah.
There is an answer.
Christ.
Dude, Jeremy,
can I give you my answer?
I'll say this in 10 seconds. There is an answer. It's written in Romans by Paul. It says that to be a Christian, to inherit eternal life, you have to confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is your Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. If you believe those things and you confess those things, you are going to heaven and you are therefore a Christian.
That's it?
Well, that's another angle. Yeah.
Well, that's just what the Bible says. So, like, people may have different opinions about stuff, but what the Bible says is confess with your mouth and believe in your heart and you get in.
I think that's about getting into heaven. I don't know if necessarily that would be Christian, because maybe there's a little bit more, right? The parables of Jesus, they actually give really specific, highly detailed instructions for almost every scenario, such as if we encounter our enemy on the street dying, we're supposed to go help them, no matter
what. There are things to do as a Christian or as just a person, but it's not definitely defines you. Oh, that's you being a Christian. A Christian, what is it? Osco? That's exactly what it means.
All right, this is I just typed it into ChatGPT, and this is what we got. It says, being a Christian means identifying yourself as a follower of Jesus Christ and trying to live according to his teachings. And it says,
Amen.
And then it says there's some variation, but this involves belief in Jesus, a relationship with God, following the teachings, grace and forgiveness, and community and practice. Those are the 5 categories it gives.
That's a fantastic answer, Gio.
So
I agree wholeheartedly.
Trying to live a follower of Jesus Christ and trying to live according to the teachings.
Yeah, is Jeremy going to accept that answer?
Well, this one's even somewhat different than some of the other ones that were given. They're all a little bit.
So, Jeremy, you don't even care if we answer the question that you asked like 10 times?
Well, I heard a whole bunch of different versions of it. I mean, which one is it?
The one that Gio just read that I agreed with, that I'm sure a lot of Christians would agree with. So it would have been really nice if you'd have heard it.
Does that make
these
it
are
so?
in here, though. A follower of Jesus Christ, but I mean, they're all, the other ones you guys were mentioning are in here. For example, belief in Jesus. Christian believe that Jesus is the Son of God and the Savior. Someone who came to reconcile humanity with God. His life, teachings, death, and resurrection are central to the faith. So that has, now you're getting into that he died on the cross, died and resurrected, that part of it. That's the belief in Jesus and that he's the Son of God. And then you have the next one, a relationship with God. So through prayer and worship and trust, there's that whole part of it, relationship with God. following the teachings, like loving your neighbor, forgiving others, practicing humility, etc. The next one, grace and forgiveness, which is kind of like getting great right with God and stuff. And then the community part of churches and rituals and baptism and things like that. Go ahead.
That's like an anthropological AI definition of it. The Bible very clearly lays it out, and it's what I said earlier from Paul in Romans. Confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in your heart that you will be saved. If you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart and you are saved, then like theoretically your life would change and you would exhibit the fruits of the Spirit. You would have grace, compassion, forgiveness, understanding, so on and so forth. You may like pray often and so on and so forth, but those are signs and indicators that you are saved. It's not how you become saved. That's not how you punch a ticket to get into the club.
Yeah, the evidence of a transformed life is crucial in Christianity, because a lot of Christians will give you their testimony, and that in that testimony they will tell you the person that they used to be, and then when they encountered Jesus or the Spirit of God, how their life has changed and how their life is now in comparison. So you will see the evidence of a transformed life in a Christian. Thank you.
So I typed in a further question, like I said to ChatGPT, I said, but to be, this was my prompt, but to be specific, doesn't it say in the Bible you have to confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and Savior to forgive you from your sins? And that's the prompt. And the answer is, you're thinking of a very specific passage. And yes, that idea does come straight from the Bible. In Epistle to the Romans 10:9, and Paul the Apostle writes, which is the one you were just saying, this is paraphrased, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So in that sense, confession plus belief are presented as central to salvation. And it says, but here's where it gets more nuanced, and it goes on, which I won't read all this necessarily unless you want me to, but it goes into more of the nuances of it. But you're saying that that's just enough to be a Christian or just to be saved, Osco?
Saved.
Well, I think that they're synonymous, right? Like you can, if you're saved, if you punch your ticket to get into heaven, you therefore are a Christian, right? Like you made the cut, you get to inherit eternal life and be with God. And so to me, that's the same.
Yeah, a Christian is technically Christ-like, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to imitate Christ. You're trying to follow in his ways, not your ways, not Osco's ways, Jesus's ways.
Can I get in a minute?
Go ahead, Larry.
I'll say this very, very quickly. I could follow the teachings of Jesus, but if I don't confess with my mouth and believe in my heart, I'm not saved. Therefore, I'm not a Christian. I could even pray. I could follow all the commandments. I could read the parables, but if I don't do those things, I don't get in.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't think it's as easy as that. So this kind of gets into contract law a little bit. So there's nothing you can do to earn salvation, but there are things that you can do to lose salvation. So my evidence for this is the name will be blotted out in the Lamb's Book of Life. Obviously, your name couldn't be blotted out if you're saved, right? So there are things that you could do to be blotted out. And the Lamb's Book of Life is the book of salvation. If your name isn't in it, you're not in it. So there's also other things like Matthew 7:21-27. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but only he that doeth the will of my Father, right? He's talking about the people that sin, right? It says iniquity. Those who practice lawlessness shall not enter the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father. So I kind of disagree with half of what he said, because there's more to it than just, saying, oh, I made a prayer when I was 8 years old and I believe that Jesus died for my sins and now I'm going to heaven, but I'm going to act like, a mass murdering fuckhead and raping and pillaging just for fun every day for the rest of my life. You don't get to go to heaven that way, in my opinion. Thanks.
Well, I do hear you on that. I had the thing I was going to say before, but if someone wants to respond to that first, though. Are you going to go, Eden?
Oh, thank you, Gio. That's why I was going back to. This is why I think it's important that even if you're a non-believer, you should maybe promote Christianity versus Islam, because again, don't focus on so much the people. Focus on what they're reading. It's so much easier. There's 1 billion Christians. There's 1 billion Muslims. If you want Christians to change their position, show that they're wrong. You don't have to debate one at a time. I mean, you can if you want, but if you just have information that shows their belief is wrong, that will help everybody. Same with Islam. But that's what I'm saying. I think personally, it's in everybody's interest that they promote Christianity, because within Christianity, there's no violence for you if you don't believe it, versus the other beliefs. And I'd say reason why I point to Islam is because it's the second largest religion in the world right now, and that might be on people's doorsteps if they are apathetic rather than promoting Christianity. That's just my thoughts, and thank you. And yeah, Gio, you said you wanted to share something? Unless you had some thoughts, anyone?
Well, I mean, what you were saying, yeah, there was a thing I was going to say, although the topic has shifted a little bit now, but I mean, what people think in their own minds, like their viewpoint is obviously just kind of what it is. Like we all have our own view. And now, are you getting to the idea that you think certain traditions like engender certain kinds of behavior that you think is bad for the world kind of idea?
Potentially, yeah, because in Christianity, let's say we have a standard to show everybody, the believer and the non-believer, and if the non-believer says, "I don't want it," we just we go. We don't force it on them. We're not going to strike their neck. Versus the second largest religion, that says, yeah, if when it comes time to convert, if they don't, strike them in the neck. Now that's one. Number two, women's rights. There are women who want men to stand up on their behalf, because in that same book it talks about if they fear a woman that is going to do something, you can hit her, strike her. She's not even doing anything. It's if you fear. And then number three would be protecting the children from underage marriage, which we could see is actually still happening today. There's video evidence of this. So I think it's in everybody's interest that we promote Christian. Even if you reject Christianity, it's in your own interest to promote Christianity in your neighborhood versus Islam. And that's just I would debate that. And thank you. And I say this with all due respect. Remember, I'm not calling out any Muslims. I'm not calling out any Christians. I'm going directly to the instructions. And I want you guys to be able to be strong enough to remind people it's not about the individual, it's about the instructions. Which one do you want in your neighborhood? Someone that's going to be tolerant of you or versus intolerant? And thank you.
I have one, well, maybe 2 points, but the first one being that all of these religions, right? We brought this up earlier. They go through evolutions, right? And religion has a problem of updating its text, right? But you have the example of, again, the Old Testament turning into the New Testament, and not everything from the Old Testament is in the New Testament. So to throw something out before it's even had the chance to evolve through text your religion today wouldn't exist if you did that back then. And the second point being about hitting women, I believe it says that's a last resort, and that's not me defending it. I don't condone it at all, but it's not like a upfront thing to just hit your wife.
Yeah, I was going to say that may be contested if you're, in terms of what you were saying with that, Eden. Yeah, like within Islamic traditions, because I did actually type it in real quick for fun to ChatGPT, and it did say, I don't even know if I still have that tab open. It did say that that you're supposed to respect the women and the wife and so on. But whether that's from the Quran or the Hadith, like, is the one you're talking about from the Hadith?
It's the Quran.
The Quran. So essentially, yeah, you want to respect, but they're giving them rules for when the woman is not respecting the man. So if the man feels the woman's going to do X, Y, Z, they have the permit. They have the instruction, literal instruction. That's what I'm saying. I personally,
yeah, my understanding, there's a bunch of stuff in Islam that's very suppressive and even abusive of women. Yes. But I'm saying there might be some writings where you respect them as well. It might be a mixed bag, or it might be both. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and
there's
I'm
all
saying
kinds
like
of mistreatment, and then there's like covering up. But again, like how much of that's from the hadiths, and then that's the whole, and then the
great point.
cultural.
Yeah.
Like Anchovy was saying, the development. I'm just saying that might all be able to be like debated because you're putting it forth as if it's like just said and done that it is all instructs that. And I'm just saying that might be able to be kind of contested because I don't think they're not all doing that in those countries necessarily.
Well,
There are
thankfully,
there are probably
thankfully,
some
like for instance, there's Muslims in Philippines, and because the Filipino culture or Japanese culture, they really have a respect for other people. So because they have that so entrenched, perhaps in their DNA, that when they incorporate something like the Muslim faith, the majority of them, because their nature is benevolent, they're going to be like that naturally. But even within the Filipino culture, that Islamic faith literally turned Filipinos against their own Filipinos by kidnapping them on the beach. The Muslims, they were kidnapping non-believers and believers. So I'm saying if there's enough poison within something, we should remove the poison from society. Personally, in everybody's best
But
interest.
a lot of modern Muslims would agree with you striking your wife. That's what I'm saying. Like, unfortunately, with modernity of these texts, you can't just write a new Bible and people will accept it, right? So similar to the Old Testament turning to the New Testament or any version of the Bible you prefer, it has to go through a rigorous process of culturally being accepted. So it could take a while or even never that those texts are updated, right? But it modernly, I would argue that most Muslims don't just agree with just hitting your wife for being scared she's going to do something.
And
Yeah,
also, there
that's
are some Christians who would think it is okay to hit your wife. So it's kind of like you're in a conundrum
probably
there.
yeah.
I got a question.
I just
Earlier I talked about, being on that other server and the guy being completely perplexed that someone allowed their wife to leave after dark. So what happens in his country if they do catch a woman who has left after dark? Do they give her like a real stern talking to, or do you think maybe they might not allow it physically if she tried to leave, like after
Let's
sunset? Oh, I got to go to the
let's
market. Like,
not
what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, in the extreme places like Iran, I think they were getting public lashings for not wearing their hijab. For one,
you could
they had,
argue.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
I
I
think
did.
that's propaganda, but go ahead.
I know I keep bringing in ChatGPT because I do have the window open here, and I just keep typing these things in. So it does say that it says yes, there is a verse in the Quran that is often discussed in this context. This is basically to hit or strike your wife, and it says, but it's important to understand both the wording and how it's interpreted. The verse is most commonly cited as Quran 4:34. So it's 4:34, and it's basically talking about what you should do when there's like a marital conflict, where there's some kind of like discord or like marital conflict between the two, and it says the sequence of steps depending on the severity. The first one is verbal admonition, so obviously like verbal, and then the second one is separation in bed, so that would probably be like not sleeping in the same bed, I suppose. And then the third one is daraba, which is the debated term because it could involve like a physical striking of some sort. Now there is like corporal punishment kind of thing, like the way people like spank their children and like use like the, belts and switches and all that kind of stuff of like the spanking kind of world. So I don't know if this is like referring to that level that you would be doing to your wife, I guess, or something, or like what kind of striking are they referring to? Would be the question. But Eden, was this the one you're referring to? Or are you referring to a different one, a different
That
path?
was it. Yeah, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
I just want to say in Christianity, they spanked their wives up until the women's liberation. So my grandfather allegedly spanked his wife back in the day. So it's not just Islam. Remember when Lucille Ball in the show, she would do something and then Ricky would say, Lucy, you got some splaining to do. It's because back then women didn't have like credit card accounts. They didn't have jobs for the most part. And if she fucked up somebody else's property, Ricky had to pay for it. So he would, discipline his wife for costing him a financial loss in the same way that probably Muslims do to their wives. But in Christianity, over here in the West, at least, that's faded out quite a bit. I mean, I'm sure when I told you that my grandpa spanked my grandmother, you guys were like, "What the fuck?"
Check out that YouTube short I posted in the chat. Go ahead.
They even had a movie about it. Who was it? The famous actor, John.
You know, that's a
Wayne.
Mandela effect. Sorry, Larry. That's a Mandela effect. Like, Lucy, you got some explaining to do. That's a Mandela. It was like never actually said.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But it still elucidated your point in an interesting way. But I wanted to throw in the Mandela.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a John Wayne movie where I think he found in one of the movies he went to the woman and he picked her up and spanked her bottom. But yeah,
it's simulation evidence. Yeah,
you broke up.
I do want to evidence Mandela effect.
Well, I'm looking. I also typed into ChatGPT. It says that line, "Lucy, you got some explaining to do," is never a line that was actually said in the show, but it's saying here that that the show had that dynamic of Lucy kind of messing up and then Ricky demanding an explanation, and there might be a line that says, "All right, start splaining." It's saying, and then also another one, "Lucy, splain." So I guess those lines are in there. But not Lucy, you've got some splaining to do, like not that line. And then it actually does mention the Mandela effect on this ChatGPT page. Anyways, sorry, carry on. It's just funny because, but it still elucidated the point that you were making. So that kind of energy.
Did Lucy mean Lucifer? And then Baal? Lucifer.
Her name was Baal. Baal.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Baal.
You know there's something there. Because remember Ricky and his band, he was playing the music for Santa de Muerte as like the god of the dead or something for the Latin people.
No way. Oh yeah, I remember now. Yes. Wow.
Well,
Hollywood.
I don't know where we were but Eden, like bringing it back. Well, unless someone feels like they want to get in, but I mean, bringing it back also to what you were saying about like Islam versus Christianity. Unless anyone else wanted to get in, should I say the thing I was going to say? It'll only take.
Well, I just wanted to.
Go ahead.
I wanted to extend an olive branch to Eden because he is getting, kind of straw man sometimes. His point was that for what the text specifically says. So on that point, I do agree with him but the nuance being that I would also say most modern Muslims would probably rewrite that or reinterpret it to also not strike their wives because most of them aren't doing that.
Well, this is kind of saying like on the ChatGPT thing, it's saying that the daraba is the word because the first thing you do is verbal. The second thing is you don't sleep together basically, separation in bed, which would obviously mean not like having sex as well, probably obviously not even sleeping together or cuddling or whatever, like separating physically. And then the third one is daraba, and it says the debated term. And it says that like this could be interpreted as some kind of like physical striking, but like not necessarily to cause harm or injury. So that's why I was saying it might be linked more to like corporal punishment if someone did interpret that way. I mean, spanking, I mean, people do spanking like sexually, like they consent to doing that. Now, whether that would be a thing in this or not, or whether it would be some other kind of like slap on the wrist or something else, I don't know. But it's also saying that, I mean, that the Quran teaches emphasizing compassion and mutual respect in marriage. And it also talks about never to strike your wife like in any type of like abusive way as well from the Prophet Muhammad is what this is saying. So
what if we combine it?
There's just significant disagreement of how to apply it, but it also says that like most contemporary Muslim scholars interpret it as not permitting domestic violence is what it says here.
Okay, so let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that. Let's go with the most generous version. No domestic violence. We're going to marry, and we're going to keep that in mind. Let's marry a 6-year-old and consummate at 9 years old, and they're disobedient at 9, and we can not hit them, but still strike with those combination.
Everything you said
Thank you.
are all wrong things.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, because that's another important factor.
Aren't those hadiths?
Well, Muhammad married Aisha when he was already married. He divorced his wife, and then married his young child at 6, and then consummated at 9. So if you come, if you're gonna
in the hadith though, right? Or is that?
Is it? Okay, it could be.
Like that's not in the Quran. That's in the hadith. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
That's also
Yeah.
it's also
I believe
highly
that's in the
debated
Quran.
I'm like
amongst Muslims.
98% I'm
Sorry,
right.
I believe that's legit 100% in the Quran.
Is it 9 years old? I thought that was hadith, but maybe Issa's here. Does Issa know for sure? I thought it was only in the hadith where it says that the actually marrying at 9 or consummating.
Okay, I'll check. Thank you.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's Hadith. Also, it's interesting to note that he didn't have any children with her. Like, which
In the
like
Quran,
something.
does it say he married her and consummated at 9 though?
I don't think
If I was
so.
wrong, I'll stand corrected. I apologize.
I don't think it's in the Quran. Like, I think she's respected in the Quran. She's mentioned, I think, but I don't think that it's in such detail.
Yeah, I can appreciate one cult like the Muslim faith wanting to. Let's say I have a daughter, she's young, and my neighbor is also my same believer as me. He's also Muslim, and he's such an amazing family. Like I love that family. I would die for that family. To me, it's logical that, and they have a son, that I would say, hey, I have a daughter, you have a beautiful son. Why don't we get them married one day? To me, that seems logical. But I think where it goes into dangerous territory is when grown men are potentially marrying young children, and I think we have video evidence of this happening.
Age 9, I think 100% is wrong to be doing any type of marriage or really anything even sexual at age 9. I mean, if a 9-year-old is like kissing a boy or something, I guess a boy her age, that's different or whatever maybe. But
it could be cute, but
yeah, children do little like sex play with each other, and I mean not like some kind of crazy level of it, but like a little kissing or whatever else. I mean, sometimes and whatnot, even in tribal things, but it's not an adult doing it, of course. Yeah, because that's a whole different deal. And I personally think age 9 is just always wrong, like across the board at that age, no matter what. But yeah, I did look it up real quick again on ChatGPT, and it says that the Quran never says anything about the age 9. It does talk about like reaching marriageable age. But it's saying that it doesn't give a number though. So I mean, marriageable age, we would all probably agree there is some age at which it's like, okay, a woman would, in a healthy way, marry someone, and so on. But like, yeah, 9. But it is from the hadith though, is that part. So
can I weigh in real quick? I just want to say, back in those days, when girls started having their period, is when they were considered able to have children. Right. So
right, and this wasn't
they may
exclusive
have
to
been thinking
Muslims.
that way. No, that I'm not exclusivizing it to Muslims. I'm saying
Oh
back
yeah,
in that
not you.
time, back in that time, that's what they did.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just saying for Eden's sake, like this is not pointing to one story from the Muslims. Like, yeah, there's plenty still today in the U.S. Right? You can marry children with parental consent. Not a lot of people know that.
That's true. Okay, so we'll remove that. I'll remove that at least from my point, and then I'll go to another point, which I think is everybody's interest: striking the neck of a non-believer. I think that's surely in the Quran, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas Christianity, if we meet a non-believer, yeah.
This is straight out of Enter the 36 Chambers, verse 2. It clearly stated to protect your neck. So,
yes.
Well, I think the other one, the Daraba one, I'm probably not saying that word right, but Daraba, in the Quran, that sounds like that one may not really mean actually striking the wife, like not doing domestic violence. Although it could imply like kind of level of like a corporal punishment level of it. And I guess that's where maybe someone who's more like nuanced in that. But that one may not necessarily mean, because I mean some of this is understandable. Like if you are in a married relationship and there's some kind of like conflict going on, you know, I guess one would, yeah, like how it just depends on the nature of it, but
Yeah, what's the maximum level of force? We don't move from holding, right, to like holding someone, or maybe versus to actually hitting them.
I mean, I don't even agree with these steps, like verbal admonition, separation in bed, and then the daraba. Like I wouldn't even do any of that. Like I would not even use like it depends on what they mean by admonition, but that sounds like talking down to or some kind of like controlling type language or like dominating or like
correcting
or whatever. correcting stuff. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, see, in a love relationship, it should just be open-hearted communication and working through what because either there's projection going on, or if it's not projection, there could be like the relationship is ending, or other components. I guess it all depends.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's argued, Gio, strongly.
Why does
That
it matter?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Why does it matter if it's after dark or not? Like, why does it matter if the sun's out?
I can see why it's practical.
Larry said before. Okay.
I can see why it's somewhat practical. If, let's say, not everyone's a believer, you might want to keep the woman indoors, because some non-believers think taking advantage of women is a good thing. But yeah.
Well, is it like for some controlling way so the woman's not out like flirting with other men? Is it linked to that somehow?
Probably. Could be.
Probably. And that she's not being looked at or fawned
Yeah, but
over.
why do you let her out during the day then, though?
Well,
why
I guess
let her out during the day then?
I'm just kind of riffing as to what it may be. I don't know for sure.
It could,
I mean,
be a little safer.
The daytime might just be because there's lights and you can kind of see everything. There's not like, I mean, it is true that probably like women who get raped and stuff probably does happen more at night than in the day, right? Probably way more.
It just seems to me like being a Muslim, you're the most insecure man that you could ever possibly be if you believe doing that to a woman.
Yeah.
That afraid.
Yeah, I let my wife
they're
go out at night.
that afraid they're going to lose their woman, that they have to wrap them up and cover them up and not allow them to be
issue is
seen
not
and everything.
exclusive to Muslims, right? There's plenty of Christians who don't want their wives out without them, especially at night.
Well, that's true. But it still seems like, though, they take it to the extreme.
If it's for a safety thing, I can understand that. But if you're worried about her cheating on you, then you got problems.
Every time I hear them talk, they say something like, "Why would you want to allow your woman to be looked at by another man?" Like it horrifies them to think that another man might see their woman.
Oh, and you know how dangerous that is for society?
I want to walk into the room. Nah, fuck that, bro. I want to walk into the room. I want every guy looking at my wife like, oh, damn, he's doing his thing. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah.
That's like pulling up in a Ferrari.
And there was a practical example of why covering up like a full burqa is actually dangerous, because you could actually have a man pretend to be a woman. This actually happened. This one guy, Tommy Robinson, that's not his real name, but he actually snuck in. There was like they were doing this whole group meetup to deal with Tommy Robinson. So he wanted to hear what they were saying about him. So he dressed in a full burqa and he got in. And when they started lying about him, he took it off. And then later he was like, the security guard even knew it was a man, but was too scared to say anything. So if we start allowing people to be fully covered up, how are we going to be able to trust who's under there? With all due respect. I mean, it might come in handy if you need to go. Well, yeah.
It's a security. It's a serious security issue. I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know that myself that I even fully understand like the male-female relationship dynamics of some of the Islamic traditions. I do know I have a certain sense of it, but I don't know that I even know like all the inner workings, because like when you guys are bringing in like some of the different like the things in the hadith and then the other like cultural things that have maybe formed in recent times, like what really is going on, like we've in some cases, but and then there's like in the Christian traditions there's like the priests with like the young boys and stuff. So like every tradition are different. There's just things going on that are wrong in many different regions. And actually, let me just say this too, because I was going to say this before. Actually, it was a little bit on like how would you know someone's a real Christian kind of thing. Well, I was going to bring up like a totally different tradition, which would be shamanism. And within shamanism, and I'm just bringing it up to say my thing. We could talk about it, but I'm saying we don't necessarily even have to go into the topic of it. But I'm just bringing it up to say that. So like within like shamanic traditions, the person who is the shaman in the tribe are a shaman because usually they're like an elder at that point and they've been vetted, and they're actually like the whole thing of like the fruits, like they showed the fruits will reveal in that sense. Well, like someone who's a shaman, like they already have the validation from the other people that they're in integrity, doing it right, and actually serving the people correctly, basically, with the medicines and all of that, to where they have that position and they're respected in those ways. But somebody could be like a fake shaman, basically, or even like a sorcerer. Like a sorcerer is basically like, because there's like shamanism and sorcery, because shamanism is like the real thing, and then sorcery would be like the black magic or the deception or the demonic, all of that. And there's people that are like fake shamans, basically, like they're not a real shaman, especially in today's day and age when people are going to South America, people from the United States and other kind of countries, first world countries kind of thing, with money, are wanting to go there as like tourism and stuff, and to do these medicines. So unfortunately now there's even more of them than somewhat in the past, to where people are getting like, yeah, they're getting harmed in some ways, like either getting robbed or being like spiritually messed with in a way that's not the right thing, So I'm just saying, like, how would you know who like a real shaman is? It's that same question. Or it's not the same as like, what is a real Christian? It's not exactly the same thing. What is a real Christian? What is a real shaman? But in their own respective, categories of what they are, there is a such thing as like a real deal shaman. And also, like, even with ayahuasca, for example, like the ayahuasca spirit actually will form an alliedship. The actual ayahuasca spirit will be allied with someone who is a real shaman, whereas people who are not a real shaman, the ayahuasca spirit won't even ally with them. So there's actually even something deeper that goes on there too. But my point is too, is that there can be fake ones who are like harming people. And so I'm just saying, in the same way, whether it's a Christian, whether it's a Muslim, any of these things, there can be the real deal version of it, let's say, or like the highest level, like in integrity. And then there can be, the corrupted versions.
Yeah, but if you're going off the fruits, right, to tell if someone's a Christian, like, you could never know. This guy killed 10 people. Is he a Christian?
Well, if he changed his ways
and
then was committing himself to being a better person, and some of those things could fit. I mean,
yeah, the question I would ask, did he kill before Christianity or after Christianity?
Yeah.
He was a Christian and he killed people. Is he a Christian still?
You're saying if he was raised a Christian, more or less, believed it as a child, grew up, ended up killing 10 people, maybe lost his faith a little bit, and then came back to the faith? Something like that?
No, just a guy killed 10 people. Is he a Christian still? He was a Christian.
When did he kill?
After he was born again. So if I became born again today...
No, not born again. Not born again. He was always a Christian. Always, since a kid.
I don't think it works like that.
Yeah, it says in there, murderers, fornicators, drunkards, these people can't enter the kingdom of heaven. So all these, I think that's in Matthew 7, somewhere around verse 14 or 15. Don't quote me on that.
What about when he kills 10 people and then he goes, Jesus, you were resurrected. You're the one. I know it in my heart. The whole shebang Osco said. Then he's getting in, right?
The Lord and Savior.
Well, what you're talking about is trampling on the blood. So this is specifically mentioned in Hebrews chapter 9, that you can't just keep sinning and expect to keep forgiven. It's actually worse for those people who abuse the
He only
sacrifice.
did it once. He only did it once. Yeah, he only did it once.
Then I guess he'd be forgiven.
So the murderer does get in heaven.
Yeah, because think of it like this. Okay, what if the child, this has happened, children who are born into satanic families... You gotta get your story straight. No, this has happened. Okay, a young woman, she was involved in the satanic ritual where they put a knife in her hand and they stuck it into other people and they would kill them. And then they would do more things to that baby. But so that innocent person was involved in the murder. They're going to be forgiven by God, especially if they turn and ask for forgiveness. God's understanding. He's the author of understanding.
Well, but then the thing Larry was saying, that, I mean, if you've already done it, you're just not getting into heaven. That links on the, on kind of the contrary side of that. That if you did it, you're just...
Well, if you do it after, yeah. Well,
how do you judge them by their fruits? If the guy comes up and is like, yo, I've killed someone. All right, you're not a Christian. But then he says, no, I said the thing out loud and all this. And now he's a Christian. But he didn't really believe it in his heart. So now he's not a Christian. Like, you never even know if he's a he's a Christian or not.
It's like everyone
why I
could be.
said-
Are you saying everyone could be a crypto Christian? A fake
Yeah,
Christian?
well, that's why I pointed
I'm just
out
saying
you're not supposed to hard judge anyone and give a definitive label. I'm pretty sure because that's left to God to judge someone's heart.
Great point.
Next.
Thankfully, we're given things to look out for, though, for sure.
Well, Jeremy, so like the reason I brought up the shamanism is because these shamans, like the ones that are like let's say you were to go to like a traditional type tribal environment, like there'll be like one of the shamans will be like maybe 85 years old, the other one might be like 50 in their 50s or whatever, right? Because so they have like generationally, but like the people in the tribe would know that person is the real deal because of their fruits, if you want to say that. Like they're in integrity, they never hurt anyone, they never harm anyone, they work hard to bring the medicines that are needed, they do the deep work, they're just completely serving the people. Basically they confirm that the shaman is in a way serving the people, in a healthy way though.
I'm
So
not doubting you
they
could
have a
know
huge
the
vetting
if the
process.
shaman is a. Yeah, I have no doubt you would know the shaman is a shaman, no doubt. But I've heard this. If we're going to talk about this, have you ever heard somebody being kicked out of the DMT world?
Yes, that's the whole thing. But like, dude, a shaman couldn't kill people and still be the shaman, though. Go ahead. You can't kill people and still be a shaman. That wouldn't work in shamanism. But I don't think. But go ahead. What were you saying?
They're saying people are doing DMT too much and getting kicked out. That's crazy. Like, is it just doing it too much, or like, why? How do you get kicked out? I don't know. I don't know.
No, my understanding of the phenomenon you're referring to is when people, usually it's like through more synthetically derived versions of DMT. So not necessarily like ayahuasca, but like the synthetically derived versions, which can be made from different plants and different chemicals and stuff. And when people do like a high dose of that, there are certain experiences where people are in another dimension and they're experiencing something. And then at some point, I mean, you could call it, I don't know if kicked out's the right phrase exactly, but maybe the nuances of this particular type of experience where they can be,
they're just not fucking
basically they lose the dimensional experience very quickly, and when they come right back into their body, and it's like they're totally sober, like they're not even tripping anymore. They're basically just like right back to sober. It's pretty intense. That's a claim that some experiences. I haven't had that particular, or not that they're like maybe entirely sober, but for the most part, like when it's over. But that's not. But that's like just one type of experience that has been had. Yeah. But are you saying you heard because they were using it too often or something? Is that how you were describing it?
Yeah, they said. I mean, dude, I saw that. Yeah, I saw this on a TikTok, so you know what I'm saying. But they said that people were DMT too much, and we're getting kicked out from doing it too much. That's not a thing you're saying?
Well, dude, this is
you go do that shit every month, all day, every year.
Well, okay, so I guess I'll just give you my understanding of it. So something like ayahuasca, you can do it every day if you want. The way you phase in and phase out of it, like it doesn't have like a whole hangover thing. You can literally do it daily if you wanted. Now you would need to have some break in between, and then you wouldn't want to do daily like forever or anything necessarily. But you can basically, something like ayahuasca or the other DMT, like the traditional shamanic uses of DMT, with the right plants, like the acacia plants and so on. Yeah, you can do it as much as there's no like over amount. However, when people make these like synthetically extracted DMTs from different plants and different chemicals and things, and they're using different chemicals, it seems like some of those like more synthetically derived DMTs and like plants actually have connections to certain dimensions and spirit worlds. So if you use like different plants that are not like the shamanic ones, you can have like some like wacky experiences kind of, because you're using plants that are connecting you, or you're using certain plant species that are connecting you with like other dimension, like a specific dimension, and that dimension might even have like a demonic thing to it, and that's why some people have those experiences. You don't have that on ayahuasca. Like anything on ayahuasca, you would be like purging your demons or actually healing. You wouldn't be like attacked by a demon, for example. But anyways, so my point is, I know it's kind of a long answer, but like if some people are not doing the traditional shamanic versions of DMT, which is like actually healing in deep ways, and that one can still be interdimensional, but in more like healing ways. Whereas some of the extracted synthetic versions of DMT can just launch people into like, if it's like extracted from the wrong certain plant that's not like a shamanic. See, there's certain plants that are like shamanic allied plants, so they're like they're allies, and then there's other, just like the ayahuasca spirit can be an ally with the shaman. There's certain plants that are allied for a positive healing thing, and then other plants are not. And some plants can even be like demonic, like datura, like that one's insanely demonic. You can like lose your mind. People have had insane experiences where they like kill people and then they don't even know they did it, like crazy level demonic stuff. So yeah, plants can be that wide of a range of difference. And so my point is, some of these DMT extracts that people are using, they might be launching themselves into like a particular type of dimension that they're getting kicked out of, is my point. Or there's some kind of experience like that, because some of those experiences can be really like displacing and stuff, where like they're being like attacked by like beings and stuff. And that doesn't happen on like a shamanic like a proper shamanic usage.
But
sorry, it's a long answer, but yeah.
You don't think if you just try to do it every single day, the OG stuff, straight from the shaman, the forest. If you did the OG stuff, you're telling me like you could do that every day and you wouldn't get kicked out just for like being there?
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so first of all, there are shamans who drink ayahuasca every day because they do ceremony like every day, or like 5 times a week or something, and they always drink some of the ayahuasca during the ceremony. And you can also do, specifically with ayahuasca, you can do ceremonies every night. And that's why people like they have like cancer, they'll go to South America, they'll drink ayahuasca for 30 days straight, and they'll come back and the cancer is completely gone. That kind of thing. And they're like 10 years younger, and they got their whole life back, and they healed a bunch of physical illnesses, including cancer and all that stuff, and they're completely rejuvenated. So with ayahuasca in particular, you can do it every day. Something with like peyote, no, you got to like leave a break in between. But anyways, but ayahuasca you can. And then that contains DMT. And then there's other types of DMTs that are either smoked, that are plant form, or actually blown into the nose, which is called a snuff. And you can do those like as much as you want in terms of the DMT. Yeah, there's no. Because the thing is, when you're doing it shamanically like this, the DMT is just utilized as part of a healing process. So it's not just going to like one dimension and getting kicked out or anything. It's not quirky like that. It's like the DMT is actually used to actually fuel the entire like healing journey. Whereas some of these, like I said, when they extract DMT from different plants like this and stuff, people are launching into like some other dimension that's like awkward and kind of sometimes it's like amazing and beautiful. But anyways, so my point is with ayahuasca, you're not like getting kicked out of a dimension, is my point. That's only happening on like the more like, I'm using the word quirky, but the more like synthetically derived, like smoking DMT modern version, of people doing that, because that's not the traditional way to use it. And even like the chemicals, like to go deeper, like it could even be in some cases, like the plant species is one thing, but they're using like petrochemicals when they break it all down to make the crystal DMT, like they use petrochemicals. And I know this might even sound like another leap to think this could be the case, but like those petrochemicals could actually be linked to like demonic dimensions or like demonic realms. And then when you're like trying to get the DMT out of the plant, but then there's all these other petrochemicals that are like fusing with it. That could end up being like a launch pad to like something, because that's how some of those experiences that people have, like smoking the crystal DMT, you don't see those in like the real shamanic experiences, like where you use the DMT from nature in the right plants. So yeah, it's like a whole different thing, and that's why they're not really the same in a lot of ways. But if you extract DMT in a pure way from a decent plant, it can actually still be pretty legit. Like I've had good DMT. That's
with all due respect, Gio, I'm gonna make a joke. So you're telling me those people are smoking dinosaur demons DMT? Come on, bro.
Yeah, dude, I know, melted dinosaur bone, petrochemical DMT. Yeah, well, that's why like people always say like smoke DMT, like the crystal form, like it tastes like burnt plastic. It's like nasty. I mean, like I said, I've had some it depends on how you extract it. I've had some ones that are way more natural, but some of them like really, it's like you're smoking like burnt tires. It's nasty. I mean, people describe, for example, on like smoked DMT that's like extracted in those type of ways in the modern era, where they like instantly launch into like another dimension that's like a very specific dimension of beings that were like waiting for them. These beings were like waiting for them to launch in there, and the minute they launched in there, they knew they were there. And then there's a whole like different types of experiences people have, and then yeah, and then they're like either ejected or they like leave from that place. And all I'm saying is that like on ayahuasca, there could be interdimensional experiences, but generally it's not like that. It's not like everyone who does a high dose of ayahuasca goes into some dimension like that and then gets kicked out or anything like that.
I think Jeremy was talking about getting kicked out of the shaman club because they get high too much.
No, I think he was saying if you smoke the DMT and you go to that dimension too frequently, then they start kicking you out. Isn't that what he was saying?
Oh wow.
Oh, maybe I must
People were saying that they were getting kicked out of the DMT world. It may be because they're doing that synthetic thing and not the real deal shit. That's probably the case.
It is, yeah.
So does DMT
People
confirm?
can like, I mean, on ayahuasca, you can have interdimensional experiences though, but there's always like a whole healing theme to it, where there's like shamanic beings that are like healing you and like fixing. Like people have had experiences where like they feel their teeth like realigning while they're on the ayahuasca, and there's like these like shamans that are like in spirit form, and they're like they can see them like working on their teeth and like realigning the meridians in their body, things like that.
That's awesome.
You mean realigning like braces?
No, the bioelectric field maybe, or their actual anatomy, body parts.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
anatomy. That's
mean,
what I meant.
yeah, I mentioned it because it was one particular close friend of mine who had a very potent experience that was related to that, where he felt his teeth like shifting. However, I would say like I couldn't say I have like dead set proof that like ayahuasca works like braces would or something to like completely realign all your teeth. I'm not necessarily saying that, although I do think that could be possible. In his case, there was, I don't know. Well, he was experiencing that it was working on his teeth, and it was because the teeth are connected to the meridian system. And like I said, I mean, did he actually like have like pictures of like before and after with the teeth actually changing? I wouldn't say I have evidence of that directly, but I was just pointing that out to say that like I mean, there can be very interdimensional and healing experiences on something like ayahuasca that are like that, where people can feel other parts of their body, like their brain, like being healed in some way. Like they feel like a tingling and like their neurons in their brain are being like repaired. And some of that has been shown in like the neurogenesis that the ayahuasca can actually do that, can regrow brain neurons. That's been shown in like scientifically in laboratories at this point now.
So maybe ayahuasca and these other naturally occurring substances actually can scientifically prove the other realm, maybe, or yeah. Would it be within time, space, and matter?
These
Like I guess,
tribes,
yeah.
Well, it seems like DMT is like
these,
the
these
interface between this world and
tribes
the
that are
rest of.
doing the tribes that are using this DMT ayahuasca stuff, right? There's tribes out there that are on this. They got the shaman. He lives down by the creek. He's all drugged out. He's all on these entheogens all the time. In some of those tribes, isn't there tribes where there's like no murder, no rape, none of that?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the way to do it, because clearly all these religious books just aren't working, but that's like working. So
Well, the shaman,
I feel like that's the way to go.
you said drugged out, but it wouldn't really be drugged out.
I knew you were gonna be
It's
pissed.
more
I
like
knew you
kind
were
of
gonna
like
be pissed when I said that.
no, it would just be like sitting like maybe like a Buddha, or like in a very peaceful, like with your eyes just like chilling, and then like singing and playing guitar, because they're always musicians in some way, like singing, playing, or like there's in the ayahuasca ceremonies, it's called the Icaros, and these are these songs that they sing during the actual ayahuasca, and it like carries the healing for the whole room. They sing these like melodies, and they actually get the melodies from the ayahuasca plant itself. So the ayahuasca like teaches them these actual melodies, and then they sing those, and then they often have like play guitar or drums as well.
Yeah, the point is though, these books, all these religious books and texts in verse 1, chapter 17 to 72, they're not working, right? People are still out murdering people, doing all this crazy stuff. But
wait,
when you have
Christian
that,
people murdering people?
Yeah, as long as they say they believe in Jesus after, you're good. You're a Christian. You could
What
have been a Christian
person is
before.
going out murdering people?
But you don't think any Christians commit murder?
Before they probably many people will claim to be Christian and then commit murder, but they probably haven't read the Bible.
Well, that's why I brought up originally the shamanism, because there are some like fake shamans out there who do end up killing people. Like I mentioned the datura earlier, the type of plant species, which can take you on like an actual bad trip, and you can like do this one. I'm sorry to say it's so brutal, but apparently like on datura, and that's not like a good psychedelic plant necessarily if it's the wrong species. Anyways, people have like killed people, and then they were like zoned out for like 48 hours, and they like killed people. Another guy like cut his own member off is another story that was still, and he woke up out of the drug experience and then realized that he did it after. Like horrible shit, like insane.
Wait a minute, who gave this guy a knife? Why would you do ayahuasca with a knife in your pocket? I mean, I'm just, what did he cut it off with, a knife?
That was datura, not ayahuasca. Datura, a totally different plant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to. But yeah, you're going to do some trippy ass plant. And where did he get a knife? Did he get a Flintstone? I mean, what's going on?
Well, okay, basically datura, there's different species of datura, and actually some of them have been used shamanically in some ways, but I would say there might even be like genetically modified ones, but that's a whole nother theory. But there's certain daturas of that family that can take you on a horrifically bad trip. Like one where you literally zone out, you don't even know what you're doing. You're like almost like an NPC, and you can like harm yourself, you can harm others, like extremely demonic, like nothing good at all, like nothing healing out of it. And that's just a thing in and of itself, certain datura. And there's people, that have like cut off their own like body parts. They've killed other people while they were on it, or like hurt themselves, like got hit by cars, all kinds of stuff. So that one's like a complete freak show. But I was going to kind of link it to say that in terms of some of these fake shamans, so there's another plant called Toe. It's called Toe. Kind of looks like TOE, but the E has a little thing on it to make it pronounce Toe. And it's similar to datura. It's in it's called Brugmansia is the family. So it's similar to datura, but it's a different plant. It's called Toe. And they mix Toe and they make like a fake ayahuasca. And then they get people to go there. The people think they're doing ayahuasca, but they're actually getting Toe, which is a whole different thing. And then, these people like they pass out, and then the fake shaman guys that, will like rob them. Basically they're like sorcerers. They're not even shamans, but they're pretending like they are, actually doing something real. And they're really they like rob these people or sometimes hurt them another way, maybe even sexually attack them or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty dark. So I just brought it up in the light of, because we were talking about like a real Christian versus a fake Christian. So I was just saying like within the shamanism thing as well, there can be someone who's just a completely fake version. And so then know them by their fruits, would be good wisdom, like by what they actually do and their reputation. And
I was just thinking of rating system, like a reputation. Those are definitely indicators, but
although shamanism does have other parts, because they're like actually offering medicines, and then there's like healing occurring, to where with Christianity, I guess there could still be. I mean, do Christians heal other people? Would you say? Are they healers?
Yes. So you'll actually see videos of them online. Sometimes in churches, they'll either be performing exorcisms. Even some people who have been baptized. I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like there was one video of a blind man. At the moment he was out, finished his baptism, his vision started to work again. And there's people who pray over. Yeah.
You forget my uncle's
I just want to say I'm extremely
That
skeptical
shit
of.
is gangster.
Yeah, bro.
That shit is
Well,
gangster right there. The gold grill. He gave him a piece of a grill. Bro, are you telling me
no,
no Christians ever killed anyone?
No, I don't. I'm not saying that.
There's nothing in
But
Christianity that instructs anyone to kill
yeah,
anyone. That's probably
It
more
actually says
important.
the
What
opposite. It
about if
says
you
do not
stone?
murder.
What about if you stone people? You're killing them, right?
No, he without sin cast the first stone. That's directly from Jesus.
So the Bible doesn't instruct you on how to stone people and for what stuff.
You have to
Yeah,
understand the Bible is the Old Testament. You can attribute people to using it to get what they want, but for the most part, the New Testament and the Old Testament should probably be in two separate libraries, because the Old Testament is a little more eye for an eye, whereas the New Testament is be kind, forgive one another, let's just chill out and help the needy and stuff. It's a little more communism too, and I mean in the literal sense commune, like where we get together and live together and just help everybody out. So in my opinion, those are two completely different books.
like the Amish.
Yeah, the New Testament is very more close to Amish style of living, especially the fuck the government, I'm not hooking up to the system, eat a dick, I'm gonna go do this over here, fuck
Yeah,
you, I'm out.
the Amish don't even vaccinate their children usually, and they have like
Yeah,
I've heard they have like no autism. Is that true? The Amish have no
I,
autism.
I haven't checked, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I saw some like it was like a YouTube short on it, and the guy was saying, I mean, I've heard that, and I've heard that autism is like either extremely low, but this guy was saying it's absolutely non-existent. Now, maybe if some Amish people did get vaccinated, but obviously he's saying the ones that were not, that there's like he was saying there's not one documented case of an autistic Amish child who didn't get vaxxed.
not just one vax.
I know one.
Oh, okay.
No vaccines ever. No needle
No,
ever in the body.
no, no. They shun the doctors. The modern world, they still pull their plows with horses. And all
And
that. They
you're
used to
saying
shoot my horses.
they have
Amos
autism.
Mass. Yeah, Sam Mass' son, the guy that shot my horses. His boy was autistic.
Well, what was he? Okay, do you know for sure there was never an injection? First of all,
Well, I mean, I can't say 100% that I said if you ever never had any vaccine of any kind, but they're, traditional Amish, you know, all the way. So I know they didn't generally go to the doctors for colds and whatnot, but um, anyway, they're studying up on it. There are autism. There is autism in the Amish peoples. They generally don't take those children to the hospital. They just
all
stay
right, but I would
within
need to know like for sure if they
communities.
never were given like an antibiotic chemical drug or
Even
because
the
I think I can
mother.
antibiotics I
explain
think
this.
could cause autism as well. There's even like Tylenol. Like I would because that whole idea I don't know whether that's true or not. Whether Tylenol causes autism, it probably does. Other things, chemicals. So I'm just saying for it to be
Well,
okay. I'm not really making the claim myself because I don't know for sure. Like have 100%. So I'm not going to make the claim. But this guy on this YouTube short was saying that essentially the idea that there's never been anyone who was not vaccinated who actually had autism. But there could be, but we'd have to also incorporate like maybe like antibiotics or even like really toxic foods if they were eating a bunch of like synthetic food crap.
you're moving the goalpost so far away, I can't see it. Gio.
But what about this?
No,
What
I'm
if
just covering the whole spectrum, and I'm just saying like this claim that like the idea that the Amish, if they don't vaccinate, that there's no cases of autism. In order to like either falsify that, you'd have to say, okay, this child for sure was not vaccinated with anything, no chemicals, no nothing, and he actually has autism. And I hear you. I
What
am
if the mother
stretching
was
at saying
pregnant?
antibiotics and chemicals in the foods. I realize those are further spectrums of it, but I mean, I would start with at least a proof of if you have it that somebody was not injected with a needle ever. At least we could start there, even if
What
they
if
took
the child is
antibiotics.
in the mom? What if the child's in the mom still and she gets injected? So he's not, or the baby's not physically getting the injection, but through the mother. You think
That counts. That counts as
Yeah,
an
I think so.
injection for
Yeah.
sure. If the mother, But then what if the mother only got her childhood vaccines, but then she didn't get any others? Like even if she didn't get the COVID one and then she's like 30 years old giving birth, like, but she got childhood vaccines, like, does that count versus like getting a shot while the child's in there, while she's pregnant?
Can I get in just real fast? I'll be super quick. I wanted to say that if you look at the symptoms of autism and the symptoms of traumatic brain injury, if you look at them side by side, they're like basically identical. Like from as far as I could tell as a layman looking at medical literature. So my thinking is that if someone had traumatic brain injury, if they went to go see a doctor, the doctor might diagnose them with autism because the symptoms are so similar. So I do believe that there probably are Amish people with the symptoms of autism for sure.
So you think that child got misdiagnosed with autism because he actually had a brain injury that nobody knew about?
Well, we know that vaccines cause brain injuries.
That's not true at all, man. That's
okay.
Not fair.
Okay, so guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
I think it has led to some neurological issues. I think I even had a friend. She was paralyzed because of a vaccine. Do you think that's neurological?
I mean, just crazy wild claims like the Tylenol thing. The most absurd thing I've ever heard. Everybody, probably just about every person, human being in the world, has taken Tylenol. Some on
Yeah, and
daily
we're all
basis.
a little autistic now.
Therefore, if Tylenol were to
and we're all a
cause
little autistic.
some sort of neurological deficiency or damage, don't you think we would all be damaged or deficient?
Well, sorry, I think there's actually a number. I was interrupting, but I was saying that we're all a little autistic now, and I was saying it's partially joking.
I don't disagree with that. I think I am.
So we've all taken Tylenol.
Yeah,
I'm not saying Tylenol did it to everybody, and I'm kind of joking. Well, maybe everyone is like almost a little autistic at this point. I mean, I think the childhood vaccines do it. So, like, I don't know if I am really. Maybe like in some ways, like I could probably think of some ways not like severely though. I wouldn't be diagnosed with anything, but I probably have a little bit of my own. But I was born in 1981, so I got the 81 version of the injections.
Yeah, we got autism light, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. We did, yeah.
Yeah, the schedule wasn't
get crazy till the 90s and 2000s where they really turned on the spectrum.
And by that time, we were strong enough to fight off the nurses. Like, get off me, bitch.
Y'all got pure mercury.
I know. I'm not getting any more of those. Yeah. Oh. No, I don't know if Tylenol does it or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I mean,
what about the mercury fillings? What about the mercury fillings? Do they cause brain damage?
Yeah, if your tooth breaks.
I have my own experience on that, dude. I got like 3 cavities when I was like young, because I was eating a lot of sugar. I mean, I don't know. We ate. I had a good diet overall, I guess, for that time. But still, I mean, back then we ate Snickers bars and all kinds of stuff. And I also think maybe for myself, like, I don't know if I got the strongest nutrition while I was in the womb, but that's a whole nother thing. Like my mom wasn't eating like liver and raw milk, that's for sure. So I don't think I really got the most ideal nutrition in the womb, but it's not like hugely a problem, but it's probably not the best. Anyway, so maybe my teeth were not like super strong at the beginning, even though they're fine now because I drink a lot of raw milk. But nonetheless, when I was young, like before age like 10, 12 or whatever, in those initial years, I got like 3 cavities and then they put 3 mercury fillings in my mouth. So dude, like ever since I was that age, my brain was just being poisoned by mercury, and there's no question it damages the brain and it was terrible. Yeah, it caused me a lot of other issues as well. And then finally, when I was like in my 20s, I got them removed, and like in a safe way where they suck it out with a vacuum and all that, because you can get like repoisoned when they're removing them. Anyway, so I'm just saying I had like 15, 20 years of my life of being poisoned by those. So yeah, I would say
the mercury in the fillings is bad, but mercury in the old vaccines, they don't do it anymore because it was bad. That mercury is safe, even though they removed it from the vaccines because it was unsafe.
Dude, it's so insane, the deception they tell people that the mercury amalgam fillings, that mercury, what they claim is that yes, it contains mercury, which is toxic, but we mix it with other metals. And since we mix it with other metals, it becomes an amalgam and just none of the mercury will go into your body, which is such a complete and total lie. And in fact, all you have to do is put a, what's the name for it? I want to say like spectrometer, but it's not that. It's spectrograph. It's something where it can detect the fumes that are coming off, like the gas that's actually coming off the mercury fillings. And yeah, they've shown that there's gas just always coming off of them. And when you put hot water on them, like you drink hot tea, it releases way more. And I even remember when I had those mercury fillings, they used to tell me like, be careful with like hot coffee or hot tea because it can like, well, that was the thing that was found out, that the hotter the water, the more mercury. Well, no, they didn't really tell me that, not the medical people. I was told that by someone, and then it also proved to be shown in laboratory settings as well. But I was told early on that like if you drink hot things, like more of the mercury. Anyways, yeah, it's bad. It's just literally off gassing into your brain all day and then going right into your body. And that's one of the biggest conspiracies ever, because it then weakens the immune system. It causes autoimmune diseases to get worse. It causes arthritis to get worse, causes inflammation in the body. But it does so in like a slow way over time. It's such a deception. And then they have all the pharmaceuticals ready for you once you've had mercury in your mouth. So yeah, the mercury just totally comes out of those amalgams, and they told us for years that it didn't. So they just completely lied to us.
Yeah, and Gio, supposedly one of the guys who invented the clean room, he had to struggle with lead toxicity. Lead was basically omnipresent in society. It was in practically everything because a lot of maybe some benefits. But they said when it was actually being put into the gas, you can actually see a correlation, a potential correlation of when violence across cities took off. We were all being poisoned by the lead gas. And yeah, we didn't even realize it. And then one of the symptoms of lead poisoning is madness. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Interesting.
No,
Yeah,
the quote
yeah.
is
Lead
the quote is
poison the world.
everything. The quote is
Go ahead,
everything is in. The quote is everything is in everything. Pazza 2026, I think.
Guess that means my bum is on his lips or in his lips.
Yep.
If he actually said that.
Your bum is on the rug.
I also have a quote from Zanuck 2026. Not far after that one, everything is touching everything. That's another one.
Well, my bum is on his lips. If he said that.
I've actually thought about that when I was a young child. I remember thinking that like how everything is ultimately touching like my body is touching my shoes, my socks are touching my shoes are touching the ground is touching the earth, you know what I mean? And going like that. I thought about that. I remember being pretty young thinking about that, just like this interconnected nature, that everything is ultimately somehow linked to everything else if you link it through.
Think about shaking hands.
Yeah, but Zanuck, you use the real way to link it all together, Gio. Zanuck used space-time. So literally, like, he has everything touching everything, like almost directly.
Well, I don't think space-time is the same as the ether at all, but they did kind of jack like a part of the ether and called it space-time, and then they contorted it into this whole pseudoscientific thing. But there is some portions of it, because like ether would connect everything. So I mean, if we're all connected to the background medium, wouldn't that mean we're all connected? With a background medium concept?
Yeah, that's a good one. If it's the ether, then we're all touching, yeah.
We're all connected.
Everything's touching everything. So I mean, you could go whatever sick places you want to go with that, but yeah.
Yeah, so what if our thoughts affect the ether? So when I think about hating someone, it's literally like peeing in the pool. And even though I'm not actually doing it, they have technology, the EKG, that can, if you hook up these wires to your head, and now they can do this wirelessly, but they can detect thoughts, right? They have the EKG. They just hook it up to the brain. So what if even our thoughts affect this reality?
Yeah, well, are we getting our thoughts from the ether, or are we putting our thoughts into the ether, or both?
Yeah, maybe it's a two-way street, kind of like more than just a passive radio. We're actually transmitting and receiving.
Well, this is where like prayer can come in, like praying. I was gonna say too, actually, the link between shamanism and Christianity, because I was mentioning the healer part of it, and from before, and then you mentioned the Christianity, the healers, and that is a very good point. There are the Christian healers, and Now, even with them, some of them could be legitimate, some could not be legitimate. But I am definitely, I don't know how much of it I've seen in front of my own eyes, but I am very open to the idea that certain Christian folks could be connected to some healing spirits for sure. I mean, on like all these plant medicines I talk about, some people have an experience of Jesus, and they will like either be visited by like, even if I were just to call him like an archetypal being or an archetypal entity, but just to use that term in terms of like just a way to, because people may have different nuances of that and so on. But I'm just saying some people like do actually have, just like they do with like Shiva, for example, from the Hindu, like Shiva, people can actually like meet Shiva and like experience Shiva, like in these experiences. And in the same way, people can have that with Jesus. So I do
Didn't
think
they build
the
that
real
outside
being,
CERN?
and these probably is healing people. And so, yeah, I think there could, like, in the same way a shaman kind of is linking up with ayahuasca to like do certain healings or allow for the healing to happen. It could be that certain, like at the highest level, certain Christian individuals are connected to actually the healing spirit of Jesus and actually are assisting Jesus to heal those people.
Bro, I
I
send
think they
people to
have
the
a
apothecary all
giant
the time.
statue of Shiva outside of CERN or something. Did you guys hear
Because
the
Shiva
first
is the
part?
destroyer. Yeah, Shiva. Dude, people have had experiences at ego death where they met Shiva and Shiva came to like give them the last blow to their ego death. And like they literally get stomped on by Shiva. Not physically, obviously, they're just lying there with their eyes closed. But they have Shiva like stomp on them and then they like explode into nothing and then they reform. It's like the death rebirth process. Anyways, people have had
I
dramatic
know, but why
experiences
does
like that
CERN
because
have?
Shiva is like the destroyer and the creator of worlds. So
I know, but why would CERN have this outside their thing? Or I'm not sure if it was CERN or one of these sciencey places have this.
yeah, they're doing it to kind of imply. Yeah, I know. The creator and destroyer of worlds. Well, yeah. I mean, there's some theories that they're trying to do some kind of interdimensional stuff
CERN,
there.
Jeremy.
It's CERN.
Are you
I just want to
Yes,
confused?
you
say,
are right.
Gio, whenever I go to the apothecary, I'm in heaven, bro. I'm in there looking at all the stuff on the wall, and I'm thinking, man, so many people could be like utilizing this stuff and just in their coffee and improving like their everyday life. So, like when I go there, bro, I'm just like, if I only had $1 million, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we should all have the abundance of nature available to us, ideally. Yeah.
I mean, we should
Without
give it a
I'll just
shot
be
money.
if
like, I
there's
want
these
1 pound
tribes
of
where they're
everything.
not killing
Yeah.
people. You guys hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we should probably give it a shot if there's these tribes where they're not killing, murdering, stealing, raping, pillaging, and they're all on ayahuasca. I mean, we should probably give that a shot, right?
Well, the way that generally works is that, let's say in a tribal type environment where you have the shaman and so on, if somebody in the tribe is having like some kind of a issue or even like something of a demonic nature or something where they're hurting other people or whatever it may be, the thing is that they do have enough like trust in the community already that that person will consent to whatever the shaman is going to offer them. So they're not like forcing it on the people, but the people just will consent. Like they'll agree to go to the shaman. And that might be somewhat cultural, if you have multiple generations of people and it's like, yeah, if you're like 16 years old and you're like hurting someone, like, because what I'm saying is that in the modern era, some people might not consent to it. They might just be like, no. But I'm saying that's one thing they have different there is that the people in that tribe are all just kind of automatically consenting to the shaman because the shaman just, it's like going to the doctor basically. So, in the way that our culture does that even now. So you just go to the doctor because you need help. And the thing is, those people, they know that they need help and they know they're not happy with the negative stuff that's going on anyways. My point is that they pretty much all consent. And then the shaman will serve them the medicine. And as long as the person is consenting to, take the medicine that's needed and close their eyes and go within, the ayahuasca will do the rest. So that's the thing. So they'll be cleared of that energy of like harming someone or, raping or stealing or whatever it may be. But it does take them like consenting to do the medicine. And so all I'm saying is that in the culture today, in order to get like 100% success rate, like everybody would have to be willing to, and I'm not saying everyone should, I'm not trying to like say something that everyone should drink a potion of plant medicine or something. I'm just saying that what you're talking about, having a whole, because those tribes have done it. So I'm just kind of also documenting how they've done it by keeping Yeah, it's sort of like if a demon enters, they clear it out quickly, is the point. You know what I mean? So they don't really have any demons, basically, if you want to view it that way. Whereas if you don't have that medicine to do that, you just get demon after demon after demon, and now you got people killing each other and hurting each other and raping and all these issues. Yeah. Even if I just use that word demonic, like as like an evil spirited thing to do, like not even a demon, but even if I just using that term in terms of like harming others.
I'm just saying, like, the books aren't working, right? All the religious books, they're not working. The threat of killing the other person, that's not working because we have capital punishment and people still get sent to the death row. Knowing they know that could be the case and they still kill people. So, I mean, shit, bro, we're running out of options. I don't know what else to do.
I think if ayahuasca was offered to like prison inmates, for example, I would imagine most of them would consent, especially if they were told how much better they're going to feel and they're going to feel like the best they've ever felt in their life, and they're not going to be addicted to drugs. And, yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's where you start on the prisoners. You're like, yo, you want to do this shit? It could help you mentally and shit, and then you do it. And if you have good success rates, like, oh, we've given it to 10,000 prisoners. The normal rate for, recurring violence or repeat offenders or whatever is this percent. But the people that have gotten the ayahuasca or whatever, it's a way lower percent or whatever. It's a good fucking start.
yeah, there could be a way that it could be brought in, like, if it was available as like a medical treatment to people and they were able to be like supported and guided through the whole thing, you could probably clear out virtually all the prisons and help everyone. Now, there might be some that would just completely not consent to it. They would just be like, no, I will not consume any plants, for example. Now, they could do the breathing technique if they're willing to do the breathing. But if they're also not willing to do that, if they're not, let's say they're not willing to do anything, like not even meditate, not even a flotation tank, not even
we're sending them to Australia.
All
those people go to Australia.
If they're willing to do absolutely nothing, then that's tough. Yeah. I don't know if there is any hope for transformation.
We're sending them to Gentopia.
Unless it just happens spontaneously. I mean, doesn't the Bible have some cases where people have, like, the Bible has actually been like a transformational thing for them? So, I mean, it's almost like an entheogen. It could be. Or it could function.
Absolutely.
Nah, bro, they got a lot of Bibles in prison, bro. This place is full of Bibles, bro. It's not helping.
Well, I guess what I'm saying what about, I agree with you that the numbers don't really, but aren't there some, I'm saying?
Yes. For instance, let's go to South America, where they have the MS-13 and other gangs all locked up. They actually made it mandatory. And these people who have never grown up learning about Jesus, all they knew from birth was gang violence and corruption. So for the first time, they have maybe a different outlook on reality, and them actually gave their life to Jesus and no longer want to be a gang member.
Well, like I said, dude, like in these experiences, either through breathing, meditating, or the plant medicines, like some people literally connect with Jesus or have a Jesus experience. And often it is very healing. So even though the breathing or these things are ways to activate it, I would think it could also happen. Well, all the experiences that people have with the breathing and even the plant medicines, those can actually be had spontaneously. So that means with nothing, like even just sober, including like even past life memory, recall, interdimensional experiences, the whole spectrum. Now, it's kind of rare that it'll just happen spontaneously for someone, but there are certain cases where it has happened spontaneously. So if it can happen spontaneously, and if it can happen if you activate it with certain things, like certain techniques, I would also think, you see what I'm getting at? Like, okay, if someone took ayahuasca and Jesus, in their experiences, that Jesus came and did this whole healing and was like, blowing like air through their body that was cleansing out their soul, like all kinds of powerful things like that. If it's a genuine experience, I do think Jesus is a real being, so that is alive in the spirit world, as it were. So I think that could be a very legitimate experience, and they had it on ayahuasca. Now, what if someone else, or maybe they did it on the breathing, the breathwork technique, they had that experience, meaning no ayahuasca, but only using breathing. then if that's the case, and then if this biblical tradition is connected to Jesus, even if it's been tainted in some ways, let's just leave that aside. But if it is connected to Jesus and it has that resonance there, then it could possibly connect that person to that healing Jesus spirit, and they could actually have a profound healing. And I think that has happened, you know.
Absolutely.
But the question is, how common is it, and what is the kind of success rate, you know? Because I think Jeremy's also kind of what he's saying too. Like, there's a lot of prisons or a lot of Bibles in prisons, and it's the effective rate or the rate of it really changing people might be not very high, maybe.
Yeah, I think we would have to do a holistic approach when it comes to hardened criminals, especially people who, like, there was one guy, he claims to be a Satanist. He's eaten people. He's killed numerous cellmates. He's really incorporated Satan in his life. So for those type of individuals, it's going to take a holistic approach, maybe ayahuasca, because he was abused as a child, and the Bible and others, you know, truth.
Yeah. I mean, there's actually there's groups of people that use ayahuasca that have a Christianity. They incorporate Christianity and ayahuasca, actually. So there are, like, the Santo Daime Church is one example. But and if you think, I mean, people use cannabis that are Christian, you know, cannabis, and ayahuasca is sort of similar to cannabis in a way. I mean, it's even more healing and profound and everything, but it's in a similar category. Like, it makes you feel very good, and it's healing in all kinds of ways. I mean, ayahuasca can cure cancer, and so can CBD in some cases, but ayahuasca is even way more effective at curing cancer than even cannabis is. Cannabis can't really cover all cancers, but it can do some of them.
Amazing. Yeah, in everybody, the last book of the Bible, Revelation, it talks about the herbs being used for the healings of the nation. And the one guy who was actually taken to court for healing people without a license, he defended himself and used the Bible, and he used that verse in Revelation. He healed people from AIDS and HIV, cancer, paralysis. So and so that's great, because the Bible says, prove all things, and then use the herbs and for the healing. So that's the beautiful thing about, I agree, Gio. It could be used for sure.
Well, I mean, some Christians don't think that this is wrong or whatever, like like mushrooms as well. So I've heard at least some folks that refer to them as Christian who also say that, like, they link it to that's like, well, isn't there stuff in the Bible about not becoming, like, drunk on, like, alcohol? And that makes sense. I agree with that as a spiritual thing. I mean, having some alcohol is fine, a few drinks or whatever, but it never seems spiritually in alignment to just be an alcoholic, basically, you know?
Yeah, not sober, for sure.
Yeah, but something like ayahuasca I see is very different. Like, alcohol is kind of like an inebriation thing, and I would agree that, like, being overly drinking alcohol is not of, you know, spiritual alignment. But on the other hand, like, if you were drinking ayahuasca every day, I mean, it's not like ayahuasca is like a small little amount of liquid, like an ounce or two per dose or something, you know, so it's like a potent little, but I don't see that as, like, when some of the Christians have linked the idea of, like, the psychedelics, basically like mushrooms and things, to that idea of not being drunken, I just don't agree that they're in the same category, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's happened is, because of corruption and greed, there was like a stigma attached. Like, so if it was outlawed, like these sort of medications or herbs were outlawed for greed, and then because it's outlawed, just the fact of trying to access it could lead to legal trouble, which is a financial burden to many people. That kind of stigma is going to be just enough for them to stay away from accessing it, which could be like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and then I agree for sure. And there's been a lot of stigma that they've tried to put. You know what's wild? I mean, those, like, mushrooms and things, they weren't even really known. Well, they were used in, like, Mexico and things back in the early 1900s, but they weren't even really brought to, like, America until, like, the 1950s. And then the Vietnam War, and then obviously all the youth was using them, and then the government just locked them down, and then there is stigma, like you said, and then the illegality. Like, peyote is like a beautiful cactus, beautiful healing medicine on so many levels, and you know, and then for people to think like, oh, that's like an illegal drug, and if you get busted with it, you're like, you know, doing street drugs. It's insane, that they've even linked it like that. And same with cannabis.
Yeah,
I don't understand how we haven't been using cannabis and the Ninth Amendment like this whole time, and the courts just be like completely 100% being blocked by the juries as far as prosecuting us. I don't understand it at all. Like, all should be permitted as long as no one has caused harm, injury, loss. Like, obviously, I'm against like drug deals going bad and people shooting each other, but as long as it's like consenting adults and they're like trading herbs or whatever and doing them in the privacy of their own home, not in the middle of the interstate, like, I'm good with it.
Yeah, and if it's regulated, like some of the black market marijuana I think in California they said they saved 10 children who were slave workers on that farm. So if we remove all these sort of like evil options, it's probably beneficial to the public.
I mean, I will say, just back on with the plant medicine thing as well. I think one of the things about it is that if someone will take the medicine, basically, like that's the cool thing about those. Like, for example, with the iboga or the ibogaine. Ibogaine is like the extracted chemical from it, whereas iboga is like the actual plant. But like even just like the general stats, like it's like 80 to 90% of people like are no longer addicted to the drug after one experience with it. So just one treatment, and 80 to 90% of people already are like become unaddicted to the drug they were on. And like for all the people right now, like the homeless people and so many others, that could be of such a use
For
to help
sure.
people, because you gotta, if you're gonna get your life turned around, you gotta of course get off the drugs. And it's even darker because like, yeah, the way that they've made even something like iboga and ibogaine, they've made that illegal. Like I don't really agree with the use of ibogaine because it is like it's an extracted chemical version of it, kind of like it's not the actual plant, but it actually does have a lot of the benefits. That was when I did it the first time I did ibogaine, so it's definitely connected to the iboga spirit if it's extracted from the right plant. But nonetheless, like they've made those illegal, which, okay, arguably the ibogaine could actually be bad for the heart. So, but that's an extracted chemical, but the plant is not bad for the heart. And that's the whole thing, which is a thing. But when it says do no harm, I can't say that the ibogaine does no harm, unfortunately, because it is an extracted chemical from the plant. In the same way that like the coca leaf, like you can't have a heart attack having the coca leaf, but if you extract cocaine out of it, you can have a heart attack. So when you turn things into chemicals, it changes what they do. So I'm not really a fan of the ibogaine, but nonetheless, the iboga, the actual plant, I'm just saying that plant does no harm, and it's not been able to be utilized, the illegality, all that BS. And meanwhile, Big Pharma has been actually making opioid drugs, which cause your brain to actually biochemically, the neurons in your brain, the receptors change and get damaged by the synthetic opiates. And that's why it's so difficult to get not only the withdrawal, but it's so difficult to get off those opiates because it actually changes your brain chemistry. That's how insanely demonic and evil they are, is that they've made these drugs that actually change your brain chemistry to make you addicted to them. Now, if you go without the drug for like a year or two, I've heard you can rebuild your brain, or hopefully your brain can rebuild. But the iboga does it like within one treatment. It can, maybe two treatments, but but it can completely reverse that brain damage as well. So I'm just saying, this whole thing of legality in drugs, like those drugs are legal, the synthetic opioids, they make you more addicted to them and destroy lives. Meanwhile, something like iboga, like a plant, has not really been able to be properly used because of the legal restrictions, even though it actually fixes your brain and gets you off of the drugs that are killing you. So is that not the same for like if someone, like let's say somebody takes like a low to medium dose edible every day, but they're working, they're a good father, they're a good, all that. And there's nothing wrong with their life at all, but they're just on an edible every day. Like, is that seen as like spiritually wrong, or is that acceptable?
That doesn't seem too bad to me. I don't know. I don't know. I was just looking through my
Well, is it more like medicating instead of intoxicating at that point?
Yeah, a lot of people do that to function, don't they? I know Cole was talking about that before, where it's easy to fall into. But I always think cannabis. I always think of it as more of a medicine than anything else. But it can be, of course, abused, shall we say?
Yeah, it's just interesting, like the fine line. Like, I don't really think of like Bob Marley as being some kind of like cannabis addict or something, you know, in some way. But then there might be someone else who kind of is that way. Like, you know, like that classic kind of thing of like a hippie that's like kind of too burned out or something, where they're like, I don't know. You probably know what I mean. That kind of caricature of someone who's like. But then there's other people that use cannabis all the time, and they're just like a businessman. They're like going to work every day in a suit and tie, and like just, you know, and they're high all day.
Yeah, I know people like Joe Rogan. He used to. There's a lot of people like that who go into like wrestling matches and they smoke weed before, right? If it gets them in the mood to, you know, go and weight train and shit like that. And you don't think of it like that. You don't think of it like that though, do you? Most people just sit down and chill and watch, you know, Netflix and chill or whatever. They don't go into a wrestling match or something.
No, I know some people use it for athletics. That's true, or for running. Like they get high and go run, or yeah, at the gym, or even like cleaning your whole house. Like people get high and clean their house. More like probably the sativa, you know, versus indica. But yeah, I know, dude. For some people, it can be completely. I think there's even like professional athletes that probably are high.
I heard a story. No, I heard it is. I do publicize a little bit. I heard a story about the Dream Team and you know, the NBA Dream Team back when Jordan was on the thing, and they were saying like nobody wanted to be like the top scorer on the team because that guy got drug tested, and they were all lit.
Oh, really?
So they were like passing a lot. Yeah, it looked like they were like having great teamwork because everyone's
That's
passing
funny.
a lot because no one wanted to be the because no one wanted to be the high scorer. So it just looked like, oh, their guys are great teamwork. They just didn't want to score.
Why did only the high score guy get tested? I don't get why that would be.
Something for the Olympics or something. I don't know. Some kind of Olympic thing, I guess. Back in the
That makes
90s,
sense.
maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, do you test the entire team or just the top performers?
Yeah, I think they were just testing like the top performers all the time.
Well, I've mentioned LSD a couple times, and really, it's like just lysergic acid, because there's lysergic acid.
Bro, tell them about the Geo. Sorry to
plants,
interrupt.
in certain plants.
I'm sorry, Geo. Tell them about the baseball player with the acid.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, so lysergic acid is in plants, like it's in these like morning glory seeds, for example, and it is an entheogen that certain cultures use that you can basically have a trip, as it were, like similar to LSD. But LSD just like it has lysergic acid, but then there's a slight chemical change to it to make it like LSD is like it's just like cosmic energy. It's like cosmic light. It's like pure, just like lysergic acid. Anyways, my point is that even though it's LSD, one of the main parts of it is the lysergic acid, and one of the things on lysergic acid that people have noted is that you can like stretch, you can stretch more, you can stretch your body more on that with that lysergic acid. Anyways, people have talked about being able to like stretch their body, like do stretches, and then also like other like performance enhancing qualities. And then yeah, there's that famous story, Doc Ellis, who took some LSD because he didn't think he was gonna. He played in the professional baseball, and he didn't think he was gonna pitch that day. Like he wasn't even gonna play, and he took some LSD, and then they called him up and they're like, "Yo, we need you to come in and pitch." So he went in and pitched, and he pitched a no hitter while he was on LSD. That's a famous story. Yeah, it gave him. He said he was just completely honed into the mid, and everything was just on point. And that's why people do it to play music too, you know, sometimes, or to have like all, you know, insights as well, to like be creative. It's like cannabis can do that, but like LSD can do it like times 10 or like even times 100. Seems like it does it way more than even cannabis. But yeah, that
is such
performance
a crazy
enhancing
story. That's such a crazy story because a no hitter is like it's like a tremendous feat in a sport. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be on point. Like you got to be good.
to pitch a no hitter. Yeah,
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like I'm wondering why they haven't tried it again. Like, don't you think like oh shit, this guy pitched a no hitter on acid. He wasn't even that good. You know what I'm saying? When the guys be like, let me just one time give it a shot or something, you know, or at least take them and go hard and see how they're pitching or whatever or something. I don't know.
Well, who knows what those guys are actually taking? Like, they're never going to drug test for LSD. Like, you can't even drug test for it. I mean, I think technically you can do like a specialized serum test maybe, and you could find it in there, but there's like no like drug test for LSD that I'm aware of. Like that's like in the system or whatever. So who knows? Those guys could be doing LSD, or people in like Silicon Valley, or I mean athletes as well. Who knows? Like if some of those guys are like, wouldn't it be wild
that baseball player,
like some professional hockey player, like takes 100 micrograms of LSD before every game? Like who knows? There might be someone out there that's doing that.
That baseball player, Gio, apparently he said that after his retirement, he never played a game without being on drugs.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, after retirement, he acknowledged after his retirement that he had never pitched without the use of drugs.
So Gio, I know nothing about LSD. Is there like some tiny micro dose you can take where you don't see pink elephants flying around, so you could just function in daily life, but get the benefits of it?
Yeah,
I never saw pink elephants.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I'm being silly,
like,
but you know what I'm saying.
Like you won't really generally people don't start feeling it until about maybe 40 to 50 micrograms. So like anything under that is considered like microdose, which you still might feel it a little though, depending on how sensitive you are. And then yeah, like when you start getting to 50 or 100 micrograms, you can start to have a bit of the, you know, the visual effects a bit, where like colors can look really rich and deep, or like things might move a little, or you might see like fractals. Anyways, but it doesn't really get to the high dose until you get like, because like between like 1 to 200 micrograms, like you can be like chilling, talking to people, hanging out, almost like cannabis in a way, usually. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, at that dose, so you can be like dancing, all kinds of stuff. But when you get like over like 250 micrograms up to 300, there's a threshold after the 250 300 range where you're like, yeah, you're gonna be in a visionary state to where, I mean, you can still have your eyes open at high doses and like at some kind of rave or party. You know, people do that, but it can at that level it can stir up the unconscious. So unless you're really like familiar with your psyche and all that, but yeah, nonetheless, the higher dosages, especially when you close your eyes, is when you can get full blown visions. So yeah, there's lower doses like that.
Okay, so let's say I took 30 micrograms. Average guy, just normal, you know, nothing, not hypersensitive or hyper unsensitive. How would that affect me? Like, would I get some beneficial, you know, in my daily life? Is there anything I'd notice? Is there anything? Would I be more something or less something? What would it typically do?
Well, LSD is an interesting one because it's known as like an unspecific amplifier of mental processes, like of the psyche. So when it says unspecific, meaning that it doesn't take all people to the same experience, meaning it really depends on you, you know, who you are and what gets brought up in you. And it definitely seems to like open up the unconscious. So like when you're dreaming, when you're sleeping, you're in your unconscious. When you take LSD, it's like you're in like a waking dream in a way. I mean, it's not like exactly like a dream, but you know what I mean? Like your unconscious is opened, but you're conscious instead of sleeping. So that's one way to describe it. But I mean, at lower doses, it's just different for every different people. And that's why it's unspecific. So like, it just depends on like, it's like excavating something within you. Now at 30 micrograms, that's pretty low. So you're probably not going to have like, well, okay, I'm sorry if this is going to be too long-winded because there's a lot of ways I could share this. But I mean, to answer your question, absolutely you could have benefit on like the benefits it has on like the neurons in the brain, like the serotonin and components like that. So you could have like physical healing in your body, in your brain. You could have like a a kind of a mood lift as well, and kind of feeling like kind of sparkly, kind of feeling like your best self in a way. And yeah, like an antidepressant effect if one has depression. But at the lower doses, it's less likely to be like, it's less likely to have that kind of like excavating quality, but because at higher doses, it kind of starts to stir stuff up, you know, emotions and things that one would want to be prepared for as well, because it can be like a tool like that too.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like on that micro dose, if I was just talking to someone in business or in my family, would they know that I was ripped, or would they? Would it be undetectable to them? Is there a benefit that can be gained without disadvantaging your function in daily life? Yeah, I've just trying to get my head around it, man. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I think with like psilocybin and LSD,
I think the microdose.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the microdose is so low of a dose, it's like homeopathy. Like you don't even know it's there, right?
Yeah. Well, if you took an extremely small amount, like I've done this with different things, like Iboga is one like this. If you just take a teeny amount, it actually has a strong effect, which is kind of amazing. Not strong like inebriation strong, but like it like. Anyways, the smaller dose you take, the more potent it is an interesting concept in and of itself. So that's the thing with microdosing. Ironically, sometimes the smaller you take, the more like energetically strong it can be in a certain way. But nonetheless, like if we're talking about just like 5 micrograms or 10 micrograms, same with psilocybin. Like if you take a very, very small amount, yeah, like you're not really going to have like at that dosage, like you're really not even going to have like a physiological effect at all if you're really like that low, like a teeny tiny amount. But you can still have certain benefits. And then if you're going to get up into a little bit of a larger microdose, you can start to like at some doses you really won't feel it, and then at other doses you will. But again, everyone's different. Like, dude, I would feel 5 micrograms of LSD for sure, you know, but someone else might not. Like someone else might take 5 micrograms and just have absolutely, they don't notice anything outwardly, but they also might notice some benefit to their life overall though, even taking that, you know, or to their brain, or like maybe they're a little bit less neurotic in some way or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like like normally in times when they get angry, they don't get as angry in those times, or, you know, effects like that. But yeah, I mean, you can get benefit even without feeling it, or you can get to where it's like a little bit of a threshold dose where you can feel it a little, but it's kind of like a background thing, you know, where you can go about your day, you know, and people feel that way with cannabis too. Like at a certain dose, they can go about their day. They can, you know, go to work, do whatever, you know, because it's kind of more of like a background, like it's such a low dose that's more of a background thing.
Yeah, I know if I get sometimes I just chew nicotine gum for the health benefits of nicotine, and if I chew a 4 milligram gum, like I can feel it. It 100% like a bit of a tingling in my scalp from the nicotine or whatever the hell is in it, but it doesn't inhibit my function in the day. You know, like I know I've consumed something, but it doesn't. You're not stoned. You're not affected. You're not spaced out or ripped or anything like that. That's what I'm, wondering. Is there with these things you talk about, Geo, the LSD, the iboga, the ayahuasca, all of those things? Is there benefit to be gained from a micro dose of these things in day to day, but doesn't negatively impact your day to day function? That's kind of what I'm
have the
fishing
answer
for.
for you. I've been hearing you ask the question. Look up microdosing LSD in the corporate world. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. Well, I'm driving, but I will. Yeah.
Are there reports of that? Or like, I know people in like Silicon Valley, when they're like designing computer software and stuff, there's the claim that a lot of them have been using LSD to get creativity and to code better, to do better coding, and to, I mean, you know that movie Limitless, I think is what it's called. Is it the one with Jim Carrey? And there's like this drug that he takes and he turns into like a superhuman. LSD actually has a bit of that to it, that quality of like Superman kind of. That's why like, people in athletics can perform like extremely high. I mean, it's claimed that Francis Crick, who discovered the double helix structure of DNA, that he was on a dose of LSD. there's also many other claims of like some of the best songs ever written, and people were either with cannabis or LSD as well. But LSD does have kind of like a Superman quality to it. So I could see like, computer software engineers or just movie writers, musicians, I think in the modern era, there's probably a lot of ways that it's initiated like very powerful like creative and like kind of brilliance, kind of genius
And that's what
level.
I'm thinking. Like even in business, will it give you the ability to, quote unquote, think outside the box? Where you normally would have a certain rationale or method of assessing a situation or a problem or whatever. Would it maybe crack you outside of that to give you a different aspect or different thought process or a different problem solving ability or something?
Yeah, it's
I'm just
possible.
saying, I'm a great.
You have better intuition as well. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, I'm a great problem solver, and I did a bunch of acid when I was a kid.
I would recommend a psilocybin mushroom, but that's just my personal preference. If you're going to
I did that
microdose
too.
mushrooms, it's going to open your, trait openness, because like it's a spectrum of openness and conscientiousness. So it might slide you a little more open to openness as opposed to always being like a lawyer prick, nuh-uh. It kind of opens you up to, well, maybe let's take a look.
I'd love to see more studies and tests and things done with this. I mean, who knows what this could be huge for us. You know what I'm saying? So some of these things, the medical benefits, they've been labeled as taboo for all these years. People spent millions of dollars lobbying to keep them illegal. I'm sure Big Pharma. Dude, where can I get the list of the stuff Big Pharma's been lobbying to keep illegal over the decades? Like, where's that list at? It's probably the key to everything. If you want to fix humanity, find the shit Big Pharma's been lobbying to keep illegal. Because let's not forget, they make mind altering drugs. Depression medicine, anti anxiety stuff, all types of mind medicines Big Pharma makes, right? So if this shit's good for you, they probably don't want you having it.
Yeah, I mean, there's something pretty magical that can happen. So, for example, with like psilocybin mushrooms, some people like would take high doses and then work through a lot of their like childhood issues and stuff, and then they would no longer have depression. But there's even other scenarios of people that have only microdosed something like mushrooms, and they had depression, like chronic depression, and they microdosed mushrooms like, maybe like 3 days on, 3 days off. So for 3 days you take it, and then 3 days you don't take it, and then 3 days you take it. There's different ways of doing that. But there are some people who have literally resolved their depression by just doing microdosing. So in a world of like, now everyone's different maybe. So, there may be a brain chemistry thing. There could be different, everyone's different. And what people are dealing with also like underneath the surface. But I'm just saying there are some people that have just done microdosing and it's healed their depression, and they didn't even ever trip. They never had to trip or go through a huge intense high dose thing. And, with Big Pharma selling antidepressants, now maybe some people, every time they take the mushroom, they have the antidepressant effect. So in that case, it's like more like a medicine where they can take it and not have the depression. But I'm saying there's other people that have taken it over time, and then even when they stop taking it, they don't have depression anymore. So like it actually healed them of the depression by taking it, over a month or whatever, 2 months, in some cases. So that is like so remarkable. And yeah, Big Pharma, I mean, they're selling people Prozac and all these Zoloft and all these antidepressant drugs. They're making new ones all the time and selling them and getting people to be addicted to those for life. So, yeah, I don't know how they're going to ever let that be available, because it's just going to kill their antidepressant industry.
thing if you get the source of what they use, because usually there's either fungi or some kind of tree or willowbrook or plant that they use, but they just like to synthesize it and then patent it and then make the other shit illegal. Yeah, I think that's mostly the problem because they synthesize it and they give you just that part of whatever it's the active ingredient instead of the whole thing, which probably and not as strong. You know, so that's probably one of the issues that causes those problems.
Yeah, a lot of it's with the serotonin system in the brain, dopamine and serotonin. So yeah, a lot of those drugs they're making are like the SSRIs. So yeah, they're messing with the serotogenetic. I think that's how you say that word. The serotonin genetic system. Oh, serotogenic. Anyways, it's a hard word to say. But yeah, those drugs like alter serotonin levels. Whereas it seems like with something like psilocybin mushrooms, it actually like restores your natural serotonin levels. So instead of having to like be hooked on it, it actually restores your levels and hopefully you could get healed on it. Whereas with their drugs, you just have to keep taking it every day to keep like refilling the tank, you know? And then they get you addicted to them. And those things can be tough to get off. Like, dude, I read a book in my college, my undergrad. The book was called Your Drug May Be Your Problem. And this was in like mainstream like psychology course at college. And it was all about how these pharmaceutical drugs actually end up being the problem for people. Like originally they had some emotional issue and then they took the drugs and now like they can't get off the drugs or they even become suicidal from taking them. Like it's like literally your drug becomes the problem, whereas your emotions are not even the main problem anymore. It's the drug and the kind of, anyways, yeah, they can be really damaging. But yeah, they're just doing like a synthetic alteration of your levels that just keep you hooked on it every day. I mean, that should be like illegal. It's crazy that they're not only doing it and that they're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So the reason I mentioned microdosing in the corporate world is because a while back I saw that they were doing it. They would just, you know, cut like a little, because LSD usually comes on like a little stamp-sized piece of paper or something. So they would cut like a fourth or an eighth of it off, and then take it like right before work. And all day long, their productivity was just booming because I guess acid is kind of like a bit of a stimulant, not only like visually but also like energy level stimulant. Because I hear that you can't sleep on it for like 8 to 12 hours. But I would definitely recommend the psilocybin mushrooms before you ever start microdosing acid because it's like you ever been on a roller coaster and like halfway through the roller coaster you want off?
Yeah, LSD is a bit longer lasting than mushrooms. Yeah, it can last longer. It's more like 8 to 10 hours, and then if you take more, it can be like 15 hours. Whereas mushrooms is more like kind of 5 to 7.
Bro, that shit's fucking powerful, dude. Yeah,
I hate the extended
it's
kind of shit though.
intense. What's up, Elbow?
I said I don't like the extended kind of shit. Like if it lasts more than an hour or two, I'm like don't like taking that kind of stuff.
I got shit to you're like I got shit to do, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, bro. Like I remember taking. I usually like smoking cannabis, but I I was taking some gummies, and dude, like one gummy took me like way over to the next day, and I'm like, holy fuck, like I gotta go do some shit.
Bro, but here's the real question, no Elbow. This is the real question. How'd I manage to fix Rob's mic and yours took its place? Did you buy Rob's used mic off him?
I called him up, man. I told him, hey, I gotta go
You're
fuck
like,
with
yo,
Jeremy.
I need that mic, bro.
No, he called him up and was like, "Yo, let's troll Jeremy. I'm gonna send you this mic."
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I hate going out with this freaking Bluetooth.
Bro, get some AirPods, dude. I've been telling people for years, man.
I got some Beats, bro. Like like $200 Beats.
Yo,
It
newsflash.
sucks.
Them shits are trash. Yeah, bro. Dr. Dre got you.
All made in Taiwan.
It's fucking freezing out right now. Is it chilly out where you guys are?
Bro, it's like 70. Well, it kind of cooled down a bit, but it was like 80 degrees in the afternoon. It's about close to 70. Something.
It's fucking freezing out here.
It's pretty warm
We got
here.
some
We
nice.
finally got it warmed up here. We had some rain and it got cold, but I think we were in the 70s today.
That's because you guys be getting wind from like the equator and shit. I be getting wind from stupid places like Canada. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, dude. You're getting hit with that Canadian wind.
It like swoops up or something and then back down, and it can't, like, all your air goes into Canada, and then that air gets cooled off, and then it hits me.
We get the Pacific warmth.
I think your spring comes around by probably like next month, isn't it? Like in May, somewhere in middle May.
I just want a steady temperature all year long.
You have to go south, bro. You're way in the wrong side.
Yeah. Who came to America and was like, you know what? This is a good spot right here. We're gonna set up shop right here.
And they go to the top north part of it, bro. Like, yeah, this is.
That's what I'm saying. Who was around here and was like, yo, this is a good area. We're gonna set up shop here. Wouldn't you be like, yo, let's first winter, be like, hey, why don't you think we just move down south a little bit more? Like, they didn't know about south, how south works.
No, man, it's a bunch of people from probably England or Germany or somewhere. People that thought that was the only way you could live is living in cold ass fucking places.
Yeah.
I think they were more scared of the Mexicans and the south border than the Canadians up north.
They're like them damn dogs that you buy that love the snow, huskies or whatever. They'll die if you put them out in the summer, just about.
All right, now what?
Yeah, I would have put Washington D.C. somewhere in Texas.
That close to Mexico? Think that's
See,
a smart
that's what.
move?
Well, that's the reason why I think they didn't do it. But if by weather wise, I would have brought it down here.
For weather, if we're talking about weather, none of us should even live up here. It's just fucking ridiculous.
I seriously don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know why any human would live like north of the tropics, basically, like ever.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you just always live in the tropics? Between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, you're guaranteed. No, you could argue it gets pretty hot there though, like at a certain time of year.
No, it ain't that bad.
You could be a bit outside of them, but why? But like, why would you ever really go where it's
like
cold?
Florida, Texas, Georgia, somewhere down there.
Yeah, maybe that's the
So
first.
humidity, the humidity's fucking shit.
I mean, do you like cold? I mean, I can get with it a little. I grew up in Michigan, so we had full-blown winters and the whole thing. So, I mean, I'm familiar with living in the winter place, but I wouldn't choose it though.
No, I know. Bro, that's why we got Alaska for like $7 million. Russia just thought it was just an ice wasteland, right?
I'm telling you, man, when them fuckers come over here from Europe, to them, it's just like when England got 85 degrees, and people thought they were dying because none of them have air conditioners over there because it never gets hot enough to need it in the summer. So they couldn't cool their houses when it got real hot. Yeah, people like that showing up, and it was in a time when you didn't have air conditioning. So, and people was like, man, there's no way we can go down south where it's hot. We'll fucking die.
It's going to get even hotter than this.
Yeah, so they settled that shit up north, and you got them to think.
It's fucking bullshit. No, I would make a whole. If I was running America, I'd move everyone. I would do that straight line city. I think they gave up on that straight line city, but that's actually the fucking move, though, bro. Logistically, that's the best way to do it. Just have your all your people be on one straight line or curved line for the Globers. Right? Think how easy that is if everything's just on one straight line. That's so dope.
What do you mean a straight line of what? Of latitude or something?
Just like a straight line from like Cali to the East Coast or something. Just one straight line, and everyone in America would live on that line.
Why would we do that?
So many reasons. So many. It's logistically like would be the best way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because when you need to bring a package or any kind of like trains or anything, you don't need all these crazy places to do stuff on. You just have this one straight line. You know what I'm saying?
All right, for getting resources around.
Yeah, for moving anything. Period.
Yeah,
What's
the
that?
rest of the country is just untouched wilderness, amazing wilderness with wildlife, and it would be pretty cool.
No, I'm just saying for like efficiency wise, like that'd be the dopest way to do it. You just need 2 train tracks. You know what I'm saying? One going east, one going west. On like either side of this thing or in the middle. Like I don't know how you'd set the line up exactly with the roads and the trains and the plumbing and stuff, but like it'd be like way more efficient to do it that way. Like you wouldn't need as much plumbing material and as much think of all the whole electrical grid. If you just had one line going across America, think how much like less maintenance and shit you would need in the roads. Like you'd need less roads. Like it'd be great. That's how I would do it. I'm just saying.